What's up guys, this is Astranox. Today I want to share with you guys this powerful setup I came up with. Druids with no equipment in Tactician dealing with this undead dragon that has 600 health. These druids are summoners. They're able to shapeshift with wild shape, and it's very cool. It's very flexible. You're able to adapt to a lot of different situations. You're able to deal damage of different elements. It's really cool what you're able to do. I want to break it down for you guys. I want to explain how things actually work. And first of all, I need to build this army of summons, right? And you're going to be able to start accessing these summons a bit later on with your druid. The thing is, you want to initially start with 1 point into cleric, and then you want to multi-class into druid for the remainder of the points. So it's going to be 1 into cleric, 11 into druid. The subclass is Circle of the Moon for druid, and for the cleric, you want to go for the War Domain because you're going to be able to get an extra attack with your wild shape, and that is going to be very powerful, especially with the fact that we're able to do double damage because of vulnerability, and we will have advantage, plus we will have less buff. So all in all, you're going to be able to do some really crazy stuff. Now, I'm not saying go and run 4 druids because that is completely insane, but that's the stuff I like to test out, and I like to have fun with things like that. But just having 1 druid in your team is definitely going to be a game changer. Now, when you wild shape into form of your choosing, well, you get a set of stats, right? And then you also have different health pool. Then when you when you lose that health, you go back to your normal form. Now I buff my whole army with the Hero's Feast. So that gives you 10 to your maximum health for everyone. You're able to get immunity for a few conditions, but it's a very powerful buff when you have a massive army like that, especially. It also gives you a bunch of food too for camping, so that's real cool. It is a spell level 6, so you need a the 6th spell slot. So of course you do have to push, a caster class into level 11 for that, but you don't actually need to go all the way to 11. The summons, actually, the one that I've been summoning that I'm using, you will get access to the conjure woodland beings that will be at the druid level 7, and you also get access to conjure minor elementals that is at druid level 7, right? And you get an extra attack at druid level 5. So when you wild shape, you're going to get an extra attack there. You get an extra attack at 5 and at level 10, as well as that extra attack that will be a bonus action from cleric. So that is really good. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage with whichever shape, wild shape you're going into. So that definitely adds a lot of damage, because when you're putting things like, you make the target vulnerable when you have advantage against target, and you have the bless buff, you're gonna have a very high hit chance against that target, and that's super useful when you're dealing with a boss, especially with high armor class, because it's not gonna be that easy to actually land your attacks. Because to deal damage, you first need to actually land your attack. So now I'm putting the bless buff on all my creatures. It's a concentration spell, so you do need to hold concentration. You don't want the concentration to break, so that is an issue. But of course, it's not as bad as losing concentration when you're putting haste on on a creature, on a character. When you lose haste, that hurts, because you become lethargic and you get stunned and you lose your whole turn. It's very bad. But when you lose concentration with Bless, it's no big deal. You can just Bless again. So there's no downside. It's just, pure upside when you're running Bless. So it's definitely a very, very powerful buff because you get it with a single point into Cleric. It's definitely game changing, and you can actually use a higher level spell slot to actually bless more targets, and you just need to have one into Cleric. You can start as a Cleric or you can multi-class into Cleric, but starting as a Cleric for this particular build is actually really cool because you're gonna have access to heavy armor. If you just start with Druid and then you go into Priest, you're going to have access to medium armor only. Now, why do you even need heavy armor when you are, not requiring any gear in wild shape form and you're summoning, minions? Gear can help because you might get knocked out of this wild shape form. And also, maybe you don't want to go in a shape-shifting form because you want to actually be casting, and you can be doing that while your minions are doing a ton of damage. So that's really cool, like the level of flexibility that you have with a Druid. I'm not spoiling anything about the story, guys. I just want to show you what is possible with this setup. So I'm cutting stuff from the cutscene. I don't want you guys to see some things. This is a secret area, right? You get legendary gear from this place, but I'll let you guys figure it out. Don't check the comment section if you don't want to get spoiled. But for me, this undead dragon is a very good target for benchmark because I'm able to test various things on this dragon. It's really cool. It's on Tactician, and like I can really go ham with what I'm doing. I'm showing you guys. This is in one shot. I did everything. I didn't do any save and reload. It's just one shot. I build my army and I position them. I go in there against this undead dragon Ansur in Tactician mode. I don't have any equipment on, and I'm gonna explain what is actually happening. So the first thing is that you need to be very careful against a big target because opportunity attack, if you step outside of a certain radius around the target, you will get them to trigger a free attack, and that can be quite devastating. So you have to be very careful and pay attention to that red arrow, and that's why I'm taking my time sometime to hit not only the body of the dragon, but I'm also just trying to hit the hand or the foot sometime. That's how you can actually land some attacks without having to hit the main body, which might not be reachable so easily. So right here, I just show you guys, this is a passive right there on this dragon. This is in Tactician mode only. The first time that you attack, the first attack that will land on this dragon per turn that the dragon gets, it will counterattack with a massive lightning hit, and that can definitely hurt, and you can lose some creatures. The hero's feast definitely help with that 10 health increase for the whole party. But yeah, it definitely hurts. And if you get out of the radius around the target and you trigger an opportunity attack, the thing is, this dragon actually hits a massive area on the opportunity attack. So that is very bad. That is very bad if you trigger that. So that's the thing. Now, these Dryads, the one that I'm selecting right now, you can actually summon a wood, a tree, another minion, and together they're able to do quite a bit of damage, and you can actually ensnare. And right here, I triggered the opportunity attack, and the dragon got strangled. But entrangled because I used a special vine attack on under the dragon, And it seems like when you trigger an opportunity attack, it's doing a new saving throw. And the dragon failed it, and it got entrangled. Now I have advantage against the dragon. Now that's not my only way to trigger advantage. Right here, that's the lightning attack that got triggered on the first hit that I actually landed. Because so far I missed. I've been missing all my attacks against the dragon. That is the first time that I actually end up hitting him. And yeah, he just pays back with a nice lightning attack that just took out some of my minions, which is unfortunate. Now, I'm using the mud method. That is the two flying creatures per heroes that I summoned. And the really cool thing about these creatures is that when they detonate, when they lose all their life, they explode. And the explosion can trigger muddy condition, and muddy condition can actually give you advantage against the target. So now I have two. I do have two conditions on this dragon to give me advantage for all my attacks. Now it doesn't matter how many conditions you have on a target. You just need one to trigger advantage. It doesn't matter if you have 1, 10. It's the same. It will not affect your rolls. It's the same thing. Now, if you are at a disadvantage and you are at advantage, like if you have a condition on you putting you at disadvantage, but there's advantage on the target you're attacking, they will cancel each other out. So it's good to know that. Now, as you can see, my hit chance got increased because I have advantage now. So from the back, I'm getting like 75% hit chance. So that's pretty good because I went from a 50 to a 75. So that is a massive increase, right? So it's very, very powerful to have advantage in this game. Now, the thing is, I lost my Bless buff. Now, because I lost my Bless buff, I don't have such good hit chance. But thanks to advantage, I'm able to still land quite a few hits. Now, if I had Bless and I had advantage together, I would have a much better chance to actually hit this dragon that has, I believe, 19 armor class, which is pretty high. So you need some high rolls to be able to land, your attacks against him. So it can be pretty rough. But with Bless and advantage, it really helps quite a bit. Now, the other condition that I landed that is very game-changing here is the shield condition. What that does is the target is vulnerable to cold damage, which means I'm doing double cold damage against the target. This is a massive deal. So I was able to land shield because I had advantage against the target. It helps a lot, especially versus this dragon in this encounter, because he has insane level of saving throws, and he also has a special passive magic resistance that just makes it so it's much harder to actually land conditions on this dragon, right? So now I have very nice damage increase from vulnerability because of shield, because now my water myrmidons and my water elementals, well, majority of their damage is cold based. They actually deal physical damage as well, but now with that vulnerability, it really helps a lot. So we definitely gonna do much better now. Now, the reason why I'm using a mix of water myrmidons and water elementals, and I didn't just use the water myrmidon wild shape and summon the water myrmidon, is because the water elementals, they have an attack called multi-attack. And if the target is shield, you deal double damage. So not only your cold damage is doubled because of vulnerability, the actual attack does double damage when the target is chilled. And I believe that actually affects the physical portion as well. So you are doing 4 times more cold damage and 2 times more physical. Don't quote me on that. The physical, I could be wrong about it. But that is some serious damage increase. Now imagine this dragon is not even paralyzed, because if you paralyze a target, you have a 100% crit chance in melee range. But I'm not paralyzing the dragon, but you could do it with hold monster or hold person if it's a humanoid, and that would just allow you to do some crazy damage. I want to show you guys that later on, but this dragon, it's just not easy to pull off landing conditions on the dragon, but I figured out a way to pull it off with multiple, ways to get things to trigger. Because I got my mud Mephit, I kind of mess up their name. When they explode, when they die, there's the muddy condition, so that's advantage, and there's the ensnare, and that is very, very good to have multiple ways to have advantage. As you can see, the damage is like really good. This dragon now is building energy, and if I don't down him in time, he's gonna release an insane amount of damage on my whole team, pretty much wiping out all my creatures and even my characters. Now the characters, they are in wild shape, so they have to die there, have 0 health to revert back to their normal form. So that's a great survivability increase right there. Also, I got one of my character, my 4th one, is actually outside of wild shape. It's not shapeshift anymore because I've lost all my life in my water myrmidon shape. So I was able to heal, or you could just reapply bless on your higher, best damage dealing, character and minions. That would be the optimal way to do it. But I opted for healing twice instead of doing like one-time healing, one-time bless, or blessing first and then healing. So I messed that up. That could have been better. And the really cool thing about Druid is that you have elemental damage from spells that cover a wide range of elements. You have access to creatures, minions that you summon that have that can do damage of different elements, right? Or different type of physical attacks. And you got piercing, you got slashing, you got bludgeoning, and depending on who you are fighting, you inspect them, you check what they are not resistant against, what they hopefully vulnerable against, and you just bank on that. Like you have so many different elements at your disposal. And the really cool thing about Druid is that you prepare your spell, so it's not like you don't learn a set amount of spells like a warlock and you're stuck with those until you respec your whole character. You can just, for the different battles, you can just prepare a different set of spells that will fit and do better versus a certain encounter that maybe the target is vulnerable to fire, vulnerable to lightning, thunder, and then you're going to be able to just set your prepared spells according to that, and then you're going to go and summon the creatures that do a certain element that the monster is not resistant or is vulnerable to, and you're just going to be able to do some crazy amount of damage. So I really love the flexibility of Druid, and they are actually the class that's least played from the statistics that Larian posted. So that is actually well, that should not be the case, because Druid is very powerful. They have a lot of different builds, and their summons are very strong. So I still have to deal with the 2 water myrmidon enemy, and that is the legendary great sword you can get from the boss. And there's a helm behind the boss, I'll show you later. So definitely some very powerful equipment here. But you don't have to run multiple druids in your team. Just running one, you could just try one out and see how it feels in your team. But you can be sure that they bring a lot of different tools, and just multi-classing a 1 point into cleric is definitely game changing, especially if you don't have a cleric. If you respec maybe Shadowheart and you don't have any sorts of bless, or even having more than one character that can put bless because you might lose concentration, it's actually pretty good. Now, putting bless, it would be better if you actually put it on a character that's gonna stay further away from the enemies, because you have less chance to actually lose your concentration. But when you wild shape into different forms, each form have their own stats. They have their own strength, they have their own dexterity and own constitution. Now, the intelligence, the wisdom, and the charisma is actually based on your character. So if you're going purely for a wild shape setup, you can actually put your points not into strength, dex, or constitution, but you could put them in, some of the other three for saving trolls. But you could go deep into charisma to help you with dialogues. So it doesn't really matter that much. But of course, constitution is going to help you for getting more health. So when you get knocked out of that, wild shape, you will have a decent amount of health. So there's that. But yeah, you can definitely balance your stats depending like how you're gonna play it out. But cleric is a massive deal. Having 1 point there, unless you already have someone that can put bless in your team, then in that case, like, you still want priest, because you get the free extra attack as a bonus attack. You get 3 charges on a long rest, and that really helps you out when you're in wild shape to dish that extra bit of damage. And when you have advantage, when you are able to put a target into a vulnerability state, because you got like shield, or you have some other way to make them vulnerable to a certain element, you're just going to be able to do so much more damage in the right conditions. Now, if you add Hold Monster into the mix and you're able to crit on all your attacks, you're just going to destroy pretty much anything, even on Tactician. So that is very, very nice. Now, these summons, you get access to them on Druid level 7, the Conjure Woodland Beings and the Conjure Minor Elementals. So, from level 1 to level 6, you won't have access to the summon. So that's one of the downside. Now at level 5 you get an extra attack, and at level 10 you get an extra attack, so that's very good. And then with cleric, with war domain, you get extra attack as well. So that is 4 attacks total in 1 turn, and that is very good. It's definitely very good. Here's the helm right here. It's also amazing. And this helm is actually better than the weapon because you can use it on most of the characters. It's a heavy armor though, so there's that. Another reason why, cleric as your main class, and then multi-class into druid 11 levels is going to be very strong for you. Anyways, I'd like to hear what you guys think about all that in the comments section. And that's it for this one. I'm Astranox. Good luck with all ya do. Peace out for now.